Who is Israel Cohen? Israel Cohen. It's a common first and last name in Israel. So you put in 1912 for a reason when you do the search. But he's the one who wrote a couple books, a Uber-Zionist who hates non-Jews, and he's part of the plan, or the world conquest of the Jews. He's totally for it, and he does not mince his words. Let's read the little blurb here, and then I'll get to the truth and what he said, which actually made it into the congressional, records. So it's not some fake thing. It's real, okay? But this says, in 1912, Israel Cohen, the Anglo-Jewish Zionist journalist and author, published two significant works: Zionist Work in Palestine and the Zionist Movement, Its Aims and Achievements. He was also serving as the English Language Secretary of the Zionist Central Office in Cologne at the time. This period was marked by his active involvement in the Zionist cause, which he had joined after being inspired by Theodor Herzl's speech in 1896. The year 1912 is also central to a later hoax, as a fabricated quote attributed to a non-existent book titled A Racial Program for the 20th Century, supposedly written by an Israel Cohen in that year, was falsely used in political debates. This quote, which claimed a communist plot to use racial tensions, was traced to the anti-Semite Eustace Mullins, and was entirely fabricated. The real Israel Cohen was a prominent Zionist with no connection to communism. Right, because Zionists don't have any connection to communism. Jews don't have any connection to communism. That's crazy, right? Wrong. Let's take a look. This is from Rense.com. Jeff Rense is about the truth, and he's been at this for a very, very long time, okay? Is Plan for Racial Strife Another Hoax? By Henry Macau, from June 14th, 2008. Wikipedia will tell you that the book, A Racial Program for the 20th Century, written in 1912, is another anti-Semitic hoax. It says the book and author Israel Cohen didn't exist. Well, in the one I read, it said he existed, but hey, he's not the guy, right? And it was a hoax. But I guess there's others that say he didn't exist either. The reason for this lie? Well, this book contains a famous passage that reveals the Illuminati communist race strategy, later applied to women and other minorities in the guise of feminism and diversity. Here's what it actually says. And it's in the congressional record, as I mentioned before. You know what? I'm going to pull it up right from the main picture that most people are familiar with when they see this stuff here. Hang on. There we go. There he is. There's Mr. Israel Cohen. There's Israel Cohen. There's one of his books, Travels in Jewry. Okay, he's a real guy. That's really the author. That's really the Jew, the communist Zionist. And, yeah. Let's see what he said. We must realize that our party's most powerful weapon is racial tension. By propounding into the consciousness of the dark races that for centuries they have been oppressed by the whites, we can mold them to the program of the Communist Party. In America, we will aim for subtle victory. While inflaming the Negro minority against the whites, we will endeavor to instill in the whites a guilt complex for their exploitation of the Negroes. We will aid the Negroes to rise in prominence in every walk of life, in the professions and in the world of sports and entertainment. With this prestige, the Negro will be able to intermarry with the whites and begin a process which will deliver America to our cause. To our cause. So that's a Jewish, Zionist, communist cause. Not a European cause, not an American cause, not a white cause. No. And what did it do all those years later? 1912 to 2001, nearly a century after the fact, they took down the towers and started to destabilize nations across the Middle East, rewriting history once again to their cause. The Jewish, communist, Zionist cause. But they want you to believe that it's ISIS or Hamas, when really the Central Intelligence Agency, Mossad, and the MI6 Directorate of British intelligence has created these boogeymen, these frenemies, the best money that you can buy with an enemy. Or the best enemy money can buy. I screwed that one up. You get my point. You get my point, right? And we replaced, of course, the picture he really had in his hands when he was at the United Nations was the stupid hourglass showing, the nuclear proliferation of Iran, and how close they are to a bomb. But really, hey, we put the explosive here, They did 9/11. And of course, Benjamin Netanyahu said that was the best thing that ever happened to Israel. It was a good thing, right? Let's see what he really said here. Benjamin Netanyahu regarding 9/11 attacks. New York Times, September 12th, 2001. It's very good. It will generate sympathy, immediate sympathy, strengthen the bond between our two peoples because we've experienced terror over so many decades. But the United States has now experienced a massive hemorrhaging of terror. So he wants to strengthen the bond between our two peoples. What, the Edomites and Jacob Israel? Is that what you mean? Benjamin Milikowski II? Or are you talking about Zionist Israel and the Americans? It was a false flag terror attack. That's all. Because they use deception, which is the main motto of their intelligence group, ISIS, the Israeli Secret Intelligence Service. ISIS. Literally called ISIS, folks. Mossad. By way of deception, thou shalt make war. I'm going to give you one more here to show you why the world is what it is and why they've turned America into a third world shithole. It's a Talmudic wet dream, okay? When I say the Talmud, that's the religious text behind Judaism. Always has been, okay? They met in 1952 at a rabbinic conference in Budapest, Hungary, January 12th. With one Rabbi Emanuel Rabinovich giving his speech, telling you exactly what these Jews feel like and what they're doing and why. But here's what, of course, the search engines will tell you and the artificial intelligence bullshit that the Jews created. When you look it up, it says the alleged Emergency Council of European Rabbis meeting in Budapest, Hungary on January 12, 1952, is associated with a fabricated speech attributed to Rabbi Emanuel Rabinovich. So when, it it gets determined and publicly or widely known that these Jews are wicked, and their documentation is revealed and exposed to be wicked, they call foul and say, hey, it's a forgery, it's it's a hoax, or it's whatever. They just say it's a lie, right? This speech, which outlines a plan for Jews to subjugate the world via a Third World War, is widely recognized as a forgery. Just like they say the Three World Wars letter by Albert Pike, written to his counterpart in Italy at the time, the heads of Freemasonry, to Giuseppe Mazzini, which also calls for 3 world wars, is also a hoax, right? Just a hoax, even though they displayed it up into the late 70s at the British Museum in London. But no, it's a hoax, right? Just like this. The speech was first published in the May 1952 issue of Women's Voice and the September 1952 issue of the Canadian Intelligence Service, both linked to the anti-Semitic Canadian League of Rights. So because people want rights and freedom and they want truth to ring out, they're anti-Semitic immediately. Let's label them as something bad so you don't look at it. The claim that the speech was delivered to a council of rabbis in Budapest is part of a discredited narrative used to promote anti-Semitic conspiracy theories, similar to the discredited protocols of the Elders of Zion. Okay, the protocols of Zion is also not a hoax. It's real, okay? Very, very real. And they, of course, point to Eustace Mullins, say that he made it up. He's of course, the ultimate anti-Semite bad guy that they can point to, the boogeyman. Just like a bin Laden in the terrorist realm. Okay, let's see what was really said by this rabbi at this rabbinic conference that they say didn't happen or is taken widely out of proportion, which it's not. And this is somebody here, a PDF, a letter that I found where somebody was asking somebody about it. By Rose Rabinovich. I don't know if she's of relation to Emmanuel Rabinovich, who actually did this speech, but she's a former Zionist in Melbourne, Australia. It says, "Hello again, Jeff. Thank you for posting my commentary last week. Our race will rule undisputed over the world." From Rents. It seems that this article shocked many Jews around the world. I have been inundated with hundreds of emails. I would like to apologize to many of you for not replying. I promise that I will reply to each one of you in time. If any of you had email problems trying to contact me, please try again. One question which was repeated in many of the emails to me was, how can we find the full Rabinovich speech? I searched the internet, but all websites with Rabbi Rabinovich's speech have been cleaned up or blocked. I assume by the Zionist as usual. Yep, these Jews are pretty pesky. Since I remember hearing from my grandfather about this speech already in the 50s, I decided to contact my rabbi. He searched his favorite website, http://abbc.com, and found the full article. I am enclosing here the full speech by Rabbi Rabinovich. To tell you the truth, I was surprised at the fantastic reaction of your readers to this speech. After all, there is little new in that speech, and most people who read the Elders of Zion protocols are already very familiar with this information. Unfortunately, we Jews are not allowed to read the protocols, as the Zionists want to keep us uninformed to the hidden agenda of Zionism. Some of the email I received claimed that the protocols of the Elders of Zion are a forgery. To this I have 5 comments. If it is a forgery, it implies that there is an original somewhere. Where is it? Who wrote it? Whether it is a forgery or not is irrelevant, for the simple reason that our Zionist Jewish brothers have already implemented most, if not all of it. That is a fact. Every Jew who reads the protocols knows that it was written by Jews. No one else could have written them. And this is a Jew writing this, mind you, folks. Not me, not Christopher Switzer. 3. The Gentiles are really stupid. Sorry. Until now, they did not realize yet the Zionists essentially control them. Hey, most people are very stupid, I understand that. And I am no longer a Goyim or Gentile as I've passed over and become Hebrew. Fear Yahweh, brothers and sisters. Don't fear a Jew. Don't fear man. Don't fear Satan. Number 4. It is very sad that most honest and honorable Jewish thinkers and intellectual articles are posted today on Muslim websites only. 5. As a person who grew up on Jewish ethics, I am at a great loss and shame to see our Zionist rabbis justifying the present Muslim Holocaust in the name of God and our Jewish religion. Well, the Jewish religion is communist Satanism. I'm sorry you can't see that. The Talmud is your religious text if you're Jewish. Go read it. You shouldn't be Jewish. One thing I am sure of, if there is God, he is not Zionistically Jewish. Well, that's for sure. After reading many non-Zionist Jewish websites, I started believing, as do many rabbis in New York, that Zionism is Satan hijacking our Jewish religion. No, not quite. It's not Satan hijacking your Jewish religion. Your Jewish religion was created by Hasatan and his minions as it is. It is at its core wicked. Your religion of Judaism is wicked. I don't know how you can't see that. Go read your Talmud. Some of the emails were complaints that they could not buy the protocols of the Elders of Zion. This is true, as we Jews control most of the printing and book distribution in the United States and many other countries. I had to go myself to http://churchoftrueisrael.com/protocols. I printed it and made 100 copies and distributed them to all my friends and all members of my synagogue. I encouraged everyone to distribute them to as many friends as possible. Unless the stupid Gentiles understand the Zionist agenda, we are marching blindly into World War III as lemmings off the cliff. I would like to thank you, Jeff, for your wonderful website and for being the best source of knowledge on the internet for Jews. I took the time to write you this second comment as I feel that it is our responsibility as Jews to alert the world to the dangers of Zionism. Well, I wish more Jews did that, but once you've realized this stuff, like, why can't you see that being a Jew is inherently bad? Because to be Jewish means you advocate Judaism. Go look at the core of Judaism and your Talmud. Why do you support Talmudism? Sincerely, Rose Rabinovich, okay? And here is the speech. This is not a hoax, okay? And listen to what this Jew says to other Jews, where he is not censored at all. Rabbi Rabinovich's speech of January 12, 1952. This is Budapest, Hungary. A report from Europe carried the following speech of Rabbi Emanuel Rabinovich before a special meeting of the Emergency Council of European Rabbis in Budapest, Hungary, January 12, 1952. Quote, "Not my words, not Christopher's thoughts or opinions. This is Rabbi Emanuel Rabinovich. Greetings, my children. You have been called here to recapitulate the principal steps of our new program. As you know, we had hoped to have 20 years between wars to consolidate the great gains which we had made from World War II. But our increasing numbers in certain vital areas is arousing opposition to us, and we must now work with every means at our disposal to precipitate World War III within 5 years. They did not precipitate World War III, but they did instigate the Korean War when on June 25, 1950, they ordered the North Korean army to launch a surprise attack on South Korea. On June 26, the United Nations Security Council condemned the invasion as aggression and ordered the withdrawal of the invading forces. Then, on June 27, 1950, our Jewish American President Truman ordered air and naval units into action to enforce the United Nations order. Not achieving their full goals, they then instigated the overthrow of South Vietnam. Ngo Dinh Diem, the premier under Bao Dai, who deposed the monarch in 1955 and established a republic with himself as president. Diem used strong U.S. backing to create an authoritarian regime, which soon grew into a full-scale war with Jewish pressure escalating United States involvement. The goal for which we have striven so concertedly for 3,000 years is at last within our reach, and because its fulfillment is so apparent, it behooves us to increase our efforts and our caution tenfold. I can safely promise you that before 10 years have passed, our race will take its rightful place. He's talking about the Jewish race. It's a race, a bloodline. Our race will take its rightful place in the world, with every Jew a king and every Gentile a slave. So they all applaud and rub their hands together with fervor and excitement. You remember the success of our propaganda campaign during the 1930s, which aroused anti-American passions in Germany at the same time we were arousing anti-German passions in America, a campaign which culminated in the Second World War. Yeah, they made you believe that Germans were bad, and the only good German was a dead German, and that we should go over there and kill them all, when they were our brothers. The Jewish Edomites are not our brothers. They are the sons of darkness. See what they've done to us? A similar propaganda campaign is now being waged intensely throughout the world. A war fever is being worked up in Russia by an incessant anti-American barrage, while a nationwide anti-communist scare is sweeping America. This campaign is forcing all the smaller nations to choose between the partnership of Russia or an alliance with the United States. Our most pressing problem at the moment is to inflame the lagging militaristic spirit of the Americans. Yeah, they need to get people to fight for them, fight their Jewish wars. The failure of the Universal Military Training Act was a great setback to our plans, but we are assured that a suitable measure will be rushed through Congress immediately after the 52 elections. The Russians, as well as the Asiatic peoples, are well under control and offer no objections to war, but we must wait to secure the Americans. That's what terrorism is all about, and the boogeyman. This we hope to do with the issue of anti-Semitism, which worked so well in uniting the Americans against Germany. We are counting heavily on reports of anti-Semitic outrages in Russia to whip up indignation in the United States and produce a front of solidarity against the Soviet power. Simultaneously, to demonstrate to Americans the reality of anti-Semitism, we will advance through news sources large sums of money to outspokenly anti-Semitic elements in America to increase their effectiveness, and we shall stage anti-Semitic outbreaks in several of their largest cities. I would point to the Goyim Defense League, aka GDL and Goyim TV, for they are funded like this and heavily involved with the Anti-Defamation League, these Jewish Zionist terrorists. This will serve the double purpose of exposing reactionary sectors in America, which then can be silenced, and of welding the United States into a devoted anti-Russian unit. Note, Protocol of Zion number 9, paragraph 2 states that anti-Semitism is controlled by them. At the time of this speech, they had already commenced their campaign of anti-Semitism in Czechoslovakia. Within 5 years, this program will achieve its objective, the Third World War, which will surpass in destruction all previous contests. Israeli, of course, will remain neutral, and when both sides are devastated and exhausted, we will arbitrate. Israel, of course, will remain neutral, and when both sides are devastated and exhausted, we will arbitrate, sending our control commissions into all wrecked countries. This war will end for all time our struggle against the Gentiles, the Goyim. Of course, they refer to the Goyim as cattle, as non-human, as lower than insects without souls, but that's their Talmudic way of interpreting it with their Yiddish Aramaic perversions. In Hebrew, Goyim simply means nations, or races, or heathen. Gentiles, if you will. It doesn't mean what they think. We will openly reveal our identity with the races of Asia and Africa. I can state with assurance that the last generation of white children is now being born. Did you hear that? I hope that is meaningful to you. Our control commissions will, in the interest of peace and wiping out interracial tensions, forbid the whites to mate with whites. The white women must cohabit with members of the dark races, the white men with black women. Thus the white race will disappear, for the mixing of the dark with the white means the end of the white man, and our most dangerous enemy will become only a memory. We shall embark upon an era of 10,000 years of peace and plenty, the Pax Judaica, and our race will rule undisputed over the world. Our superior intelligence will easily enable us to retain mastery over a world of dark peoples. Question from the gathering. Rabbi Rabinovich, what about the various religions after the Third World War? Rabinovich replies, there will be no more religions. Not only would the existence of a priest class remain a constant danger to our rule, but belief in an afterlife would give spiritual strength to irreconcilable elements in many countries, and enable them to resist us. We will, however, retain the rituals and customs of Judaism as the mark of our hereditary ruling caste, strengthening our racial laws so that no Jew will be allowed to marry outside our race, nor will any stranger be accepted by us. Exactly. They are the Talmudic Jews from about 165 BC and became very prominent in the first century. That's why Yahushua, the Anointed One, the Son of the Father who created it all, came down to earth, incarnated in the flesh, to rebuke these demons, these Jews. Note, Protocol of Zion number 17, paragraph 2 states, now that freedom of conscience has been declared everywhere, as a result of their efforts, they have previously stated, only years divide us from the moment of the complete wrecking of that hated Christian religion. They also hate the Torah. As to other religions, we shall have still less difficulty with them. The Mohammedan religion, for one, which is very much in agreement in most cases with their disgusting Judaism. They hate Torah, for it proclaims the one law, the one creator, Yahweh. We may have to repeat the grim days of World War II, when we were forced to let the Hitlerite bandits sacrifice some of our people, in order that we may have adequate documentation and witnesses to legally justify our trial and execution of the leaders of America and Russia as war criminals. Well, that's a laugh, seeing what you Israeli Jewish Edomites are doing over there in Palestine right now, with the Gazans. After we have dictated the peace. After you dictate peace, huh? Yeah, shalom, right? What a joke. I am sure you will need little preparation for such a duty, for sacrifice has always been the watchword of our people, and the death of a few thousand lesser Jews in exchange for world leadership is indeed a small price to pay. As they've stated many times, and as it shows in their Hannibal directive, in their IDF, their military forces, they don't care who they kill, Jews included, to get their agenda across for world domination. Yes, they make no bones about it. To convince you of the certainty of that leadership, let me point out to you how we have turned all of the inventions of the white man into weapons against him. While at least they admit these inventions are of the white man, they turn it against him. His printing presses and radios are the mouthpieces of our desires. They own the media, yes. And his heavy industry manufactures the instruments which he sends out to arm Asia and Africa against him. And we also send those arms and those technologies to Israel. They already have them. Yes. Our interests in Washington are greatly extending the Point 4 program, V's Colombo plan for developing industry in backward areas of the world, so that after the industrial plants and cities of Europe and America are destroyed by atomic warfare, the whites can offer no resistance against the large masses of the dark races, who will maintain an unchallenged technological superiority. Look at their AI gospel killing machine over in Israel. They use artificial intelligence to target the people they kill with their drones and their technologies and devices used to kill them over there. And so, with the vision of world victory before you, go back to your countries and intensify your good work. All the Sayanim, the Jewish little helpers around the world. Until that approaching day when Israel will reveal herself, the Israeli Jews, in all her glorious destiny as the light of the world. Wow, how upside down is that? They are the sons of darkness. They carry no light, no Torah. They have no lampstand with oil. Note, every statement made by Rabinovich is based on agenda contained in the Protocols of Zion. And I also read to you the racial tensions for the 21st century, or 20th century, by Israel Cohen, 1912. Same thing. Same thing. Folks, this is real, and they will tell you it's a hoax, a forgery. It cannot be right because it's anti-Semitic. It's real. It's very real. They want nothing but world domination, and they wish to destroy every single religion out there, save theirs, which is Satanism at its core, the Talmudic Judaism that you see all today with these Edomite Jews. Let me know what you think in the comments section, and by no means share this around because it's a hoax. Yah bless.
The Project for the New American Century was a Zionist-based think tank that was made up of both Republicans and Democrats alike. It was founded in 1997 and lasted up until 2006. At that point, it came under heavy public scrutiny for the unjust invasions of Iraq and Afghanistan and the numerous war crimes committed during those invasions. Then, in 2009, it re-emerged when the coast was clear. There was a new puppet in office, and the public had seemed to forgot about its existence. Once again, the Zionists had a green light to continue their hit list. The Project for the New American Century was founded by Bill Kristol
I'm Bill Kristol.
and Dr. Robert Kagan. 17 of its members became top advisors to the president during the Bush administration. Jews were grossly overrepresented within the Project for the New American Century. The entirety of its top membership was Jewish, as well as over half of all the membership, despite the fact that Jews only make up 1.7% of the population of the United States.
I can tell you that we are not targeting anyone else in Gaza but civilians. Hamas is cynically, but rather terrorists.
Continues to bankroll him. He is not his own man. And even if he were, do you trust a man who speaks like this of a people who have no military to speak of, no way to actually defend themselves against the military might of the Israeli Defense Force, who is supported with American munitions and troops even? Listen to this psychopath. He says that the Gazans, he couches it as Hamas, want to die.
U.S. giving up on Gaza in negotiations?
Yeah, Gaza, they pulled out of Gaza. They pulled out in terms of negotiating. It was too bad. Hamas didn't really want to make a deal. I think they want to die. and it's very, very bad.
Are you done with
And
the
it got to be to a point where you're going to have to finish the job. And I said this was going to happen when you get down to your last 10 or 20. We got a lot of hostages out. We took them out in numbers that nobody believed, a lot of them. And I said, when you get down to 10 or 20, I don't think Hamas is going to make a deal because that means they have no protection. And basically that's what happened. Hamas didn't want to make a deal.
Have you seen the photo?
I think what's going to happen is they're going to be hunted down.
Have you seen the secondary sanctions?
And whatever you do, folks, don't you dare look at this document that doesn't exist. Yah bless.